Imagine a small frontier principality, barely noticed on the edge of Anatolia in the late 13th century, slowly growing into a vast empire that would dominate 3 continents for over 6 centuries. Cities trembled at its armies, sultans ruled with both wisdom and iron, and cultures blended under its banner like never before. This is the story of the Ottoman Empire, a tale of ambition, conquest, glory, and inevitable decline. From its rise and obscurity to the heights of power under Suleiman the Magnificent, and ultimately to its collapse after the First World War, the Ottomans shaped history in ways still felt today. But how did a small Anatolian clan evolve into one of the greatest empires the world has ever known? And what led to its dramatic fall? Let's uncover the rise and fall of the Ottoman Empire. The story begins around 1299 in the rugged hills of northwest Anatolia. A man named Osman I, a chieftain of a minor Turkish tribe, dared to dream bigger than anyone around him. Osman's people were just one of many small principalities, known as beyliks, fighting for survival at the edge of the fading Byzantine Empire. But Osman had vision. He united his followers with a mix of loyalty, cunning, and military skill. And while the world barely noticed, this small principality began quietly expanding, taking villages, fortresses, and towns. The name Ottoman is derived from Osman himself, his legacy etched into centuries of history. By the 14th century, the Ottomans were no longer just a minor force. They crossed into the Balkans, exploiting divisions among local lords and Byzantine weakness. Their army, organized in disciplined cavalry units called spies, and later elite infantry, gave them a strategic edge. One of their most powerful innovations was the use of gunpowder and cannons, an advantage rare at the time. The Ottomans understood early that to survive and thrive, they had to adapt. They weren't just fighters, they were strategic thinkers. And so, from modest beginnings, the Ottoman dream had begun, a dream that would reshape the map of the known world. The turning point came in 1453, when a young sultan named Mehmed II, known to history as Mehmed the Conqueror, set his sights on Constantinople, the jewel of the Byzantine Empire. Imagine it. Walls towering hundreds of feet high, a city steeped in history, religion, and legend. European powers thought Constantinople was untouchable. But Mehmed had a secret weapon, massive cannons, including the legendary Basilica Cannon, capable of reducing stone walls to rubble. After a siege of 53 days, Constantinople fell. Mehmed entered the city not just as a conqueror, but as the master of an empire that would now span continents. He renamed it Istanbul, transforming it into the political and cultural heart of the Ottoman world. The empire continued to expand under Mehmed and his successors, reaching its apex under Suleiman the Magnificent, 1520 to 1566. Suleiman's reign was marked by both conquest and governance. His armies extended Ottoman control deep into Europe, reaching as far as Vienna, while also consolidating the Middle East and North Africa. But Suleiman was more than a warrior. He was a lawgiver, a patron of the arts, and a visionary who brought justice, architecture, and cultural prosperity. Under him, the empire's administration became highly organized. The millet system allowed different religious communities to govern themselves, a remarkable approach for such a vast, diverse empire. In this golden age, Istanbul became a city of splendor. Majestic mosques like the Suleiman I Mosque, bustling bazaars, thriving art, music, and literature. The Ottoman Empire was no longer just a political power. It was a civilization, a cultural force, and a global player in trade, diplomacy, and military strategy. But empires, no matter how powerful, are fragile. The Ottoman Empire began to face challenges from within and without. Military setbacks against European powers, the Habsburgs, Russia, and Persia, signaled that the Ottomans could no longer expand unchecked. Trade routes shifted. The discovery of the Americas and new sea routes around Africa meant that Istanbul was no longer the inevitable hub of global commerce. Economically, the empire began to struggle, and corruption within the administration weakened central authority. Internal strife compounded these problems. Succession disputes, powerful provincial governors acting independently, and occasional revolts by janissaries, the elite infantry, eroded the cohesion that had made the empire strong. Meanwhile, European rivals embraced industrialization and modern weaponry. The Ottomans, despite their military genius in earlier centuries, lagged behind. Attempts at reform came too late to reverse the tide completely. In the 19th century, the Ottoman Empire was nicknamed the Sick Man of Europe, a title both cruel and descriptive. Reforms called Tanzimat, 1839 to 1876, tried to modernize the empire, reorganizing the army, introducing new laws, and reforming education. A constitutional movement even emerged, with calls for a parliament and civil rights. But political instability and resistance from conservative factions limited progress. Meanwhile, nationalist movements swept across the Balkans. Greece, Serbia, and other regions fought for independence. The empire lost vast swaths of territory, and European powers increasingly intervened in Ottoman affairs, viewing it as a declining giant ripe for division. Yet the Ottoman spirit was not completely broken. Reformers tried to save the empire through modernization, education, and diplomacy, but the pressures, internal decay, external aggression, and technological lag were relentless. The 20th century brought the ultimate test. During World War I, the Ottoman Empire allied with Germany and the Central Powers, hoping to regain lost glory. But the war proved disastrous. Military defeats, famine, and economic collapse brought the empire to its knees. After the war, Allied forces occupied much of Ottoman territory. Nationalist movements, however, were rising. Among them was a charismatic and determined leader, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. Through the Turkish War of Independence, 1919 to 1923, Ataturk led a determined effort to resist foreign occupation, unify the remaining Ottoman lands, and lay the foundations of a modern, secular republic. In 1922, the Sultanate was officially abolished, and in 1923, the Republic of Turkey was declared, bringing an official end to the Ottoman Empire. It was the end of an era that had lasted over 600 years, leaving a legacy that still shapes politics, culture, and religion in Europe, the Middle East, and beyond. The Ottoman Empire was a story of ambition, brilliance, and human complexity. It began as a small frontier clan and grew into a civilization that spanned continents. It was a world of sultans and scholars, warriors and artists, conquerors and reformers. Its fall reminds us that even the mightiest empires are vulnerable to change, political, economic, and social. Yet its legacy endures. In Istanbul's skyline, in the laws and systems it inspired, in the culture and traditions that survived its collapse. History remembers the Ottomans not only for their power, but for their resilience, innovation, and the indelible mark they left on the world. The rise and fall of the Ottoman Empire is more than a tale of conquest. It is a reminder of the impermanence of power and the enduring influence of vision, leadership, and culture. And so, the empire that once ruled 3 continents now lives on in history, in stories, in monuments, and in the lessons it left behind for all humanity. The Ottoman story shows how even powerful empires must adapt to survive changing worlds.